This podcast is available for free, but it might cost you everything. Warning. Right? Could cost you everything. Disclaimer. Welcome to another episode of Sweet Jesus. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Ice cream is sweet, but Jesus is sweeter. And honey and tea is sweet, but Jesus is sweeter.
Yeah, I actually have some kind of water, but it has like an electrolyte concoction in it.
A little sprinkle of something in there.
Yeah, pineapple something or other, I don't know.
So grab something sweet and join us as we get ready to give up everything.
We have no choice in summertime.
Yep. This is another look at a parable. There's actually two, and they kind of tell the same thing as we go down this list of parables of Jesus. It's in the Lutheran Study Bible, page 1609, I believe. And this is building a tower and a king going to war. It's in Luke 14. But actually, we're going to read just a little bit before it also, because that's sort of the context, and then a little bit after it, again, because of the context here. Well, maybe, actually, no, I think it includes that on there. But so Luke 14, verse 25, starting there. Now great crowds accompanied him, and he turned and said to them, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother, and wife and children, and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple." And here's the parables. "For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, 'This man began to build and was not able to finish.' Or what king going out to encounter another king in war will not sit down first and deliberate whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? And if not, while the other is yet a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks for terms of peace. So therefore, any one of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple." Wow, that's kind of a big deal.
So the cost is everything.
Yeah. And I think there are a lot of us that you either kind of sort of find yourself in it, you just sort of find yourself in the faith. Maybe you were born and raised kind of in it, and you believe it, you've made it your own and all of that, but it's maybe you haven't quite encountered this or wrestled with it, not beforehand. And I think in our modern church, modern American church, it's very much a like salesy kind of, like, "Oh, hey, here's all the good things, and Jesus is going to fix everything for you." And then, maybe oh yeah, by the way, you have to give up everything.
That's in the fine print.
Yeah, like
the guy reads really fast at the end.
or as we say in like with ministry, you get your what they call call documents, and or a contract, right? You get a contract for a new position, and then it says other duties as assigned.
Yeah,
right. Like,
I don't like that task.
So, yeah, we don't usually lead with this, and yet Jesus pretty frequently. I mean, he doesn't maybe say it just like this, but he's hinting at it. Well, not even really hinting at it. I mean, he's coming right out and saying it, that following him is a big deal. You're either following him and you give him everything, or you're following someone else and they're getting everything. I think that's ultimately what this is really about. Like, one way or another, you are giving your life to a worldview, a way of being. Pick the right one. But when you do, like, recognize that's what you're doing with him. You're saying this is everything. And there's actually some people that reject the faith that are actually very honest about this. I was listening to a Tim Keller sermon, and I think it's also in his book Reason for God, or The Reason for God. And he talks about this guy, Mark Lilla, who's, at least maybe he was, I don't know if he still is, a professor at Columbia University. He's written a bunch of books, and he's reflecting on kind of what he calls a 7-year stint as an evangelical Christian during his teens and early 20s. He says something about flirting with evangelical Christianity, but he ultimately left. He talked about attending a Billy Graham crusade, and then he's like, well, if I'm going to follow, I should read this book. I should read the Bible. And there's this key passage tied to Jesus's conversation with Nicodemus in John 3 about being born again, which he says captures his sense that true commitment demanded surrendering personal autonomy. And this is a quote, I'm assuming from him. It doesn't say exactly where. Maybe the New York Times. He wrote some articles for the New York Times. So here's Mark Lilla. One thing Jesus seems to be telling Nicodemus is that he must recognize his own insufficiency, that he will have to turn his back on his autonomous, seemingly happy life and be reborn as a human being who understands his dependency on something greater. He must increase, but I must decrease, John 3:30. That seems a radical challenge to our freedom, and it is. So I think it's from an essay or something he did for the New York Times. How many Christians in churches on Sunday have actually wrestled with this, like, you don't have freedom anymore. You're surrendering your entire life to this man, Jesus, who claims to be the way, the truth, and the life. And of course, what the parable is actually saying is like, hey, if you're going to follow me, you should really wrestle with this.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't, then maybe you're not really following me. If you, like this guy, Mark Lilla, he's talking about John chapter 3 and this idea of being born again. That means the first time didn't work. Like, your biological entrance into the world is not sufficient to bring you into the kingdom of God. Jesus says you must be born again if you want to see the kingdom of God. You must have some kind of new birth. You must become altogether new. And I mean, I know that. We were just talking about all this, this story where we're not going to go into the details, but I walk into these things where I'm telling probably more than I need to say and revealing really just how awful a human being I am, how evil I am, right? So when I beat up on everybody else, ding, 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 ding. Yeah, okay, we got it in. We got it in nice and early. It's only a few minutes in. I say it because I know it to be true of me. I wouldn't say it about everybody else if I didn't believe it to be true about me. And the story we were talking about before was like, hey, everybody, I'm a sinner. That's basically what I did. And, I need to be completely new. Even though, looking back, it would look like, just imagine how bad I was. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
there has been progress, and yet not enough.
I always admired some of these young people that you'll see, teenagers even, or in their college age, and not that I wasn't a believer at that age, but I didn't really even, definitely wasn't wrestling with this. I was just like, whatever, just the main concepts, God, there was a God, there was Jesus, all that, just the very kind of thing. But there'll be these young people that just seems like they're already so bought in at such a young age, and it's like it's just wow, It's like these people are like another coming of Jesus or something, They seem to have it all going for them and all, I mean, they seem to have this great understanding, which they may, but then, I mean, when you think about it, do they really? I mean, they have good intentions and they're doing good things, and that, not to say negative about them, but wow, what an extraordinary person to grasp all of that at such a young age. Maybe they had real difficult upbringing or something, so that they learn lessons in life early that maybe a lot of us didn't learn until later. So maybe that, give them some credit for that or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. And the thing with wrestling with it is you have to give it all up. But usually the person when you first read that, or at least when I first read it, first thought is, okay, so I'm not going to follow this. I'm going to follow Jesus. But this, most cases, is me. The wrestling with is, I got to give up the me part of it, the me controlling it, right? I got to get, Jesus, the Jesus take the wheel thing, I mean, because I still want to drive it, right? When everything's are going good, it's like, I can drive it now. The road's straight and it's smooth, no problem. It's when you get on, the rocky roads or the cliffs and the bumps and the whatever that
It's probably, there's a spectrum, right? So definitely there are really, really impressive young people.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I wish I had my life figured out earlier. And, you can have those kind of look at them and wonder.
Yeah.
But I think there is also plenty of naivete there as well. In not in each, there's a spectrum for a variety of different people. And then there's just, like, life will happen, and there's plenty of challenges ahead for them.
Yeah, definitely.
And maybe they've already experienced a lot of them, and that's why. And God just has something in mind for them, like he wants to use them for something specific, and he gets a hold of them and gets their attention. And but I think no matter who we are or where we are, how we come along with this, it is, Jesus asks a lot more of us than we often want to admit. And the odd thing is that there are so many people and so many things and organizations and movements and whatnot that demand an incredible commitment from us. I mean, like, my kids are swimmers. You had soccer players. Anything, softball, football, school, college, university, right? Your career.
Robotics team, huh?
Robotics team.
Dance.
There you go. Dance. Yeah. These are other things.
Yeah.
They demand an incredible commitment. And it's true. Like, if you're going to be on the team, they're going to depend on you. And if you're not there, then you're hurting the people who have made the commitment, right? Musicians, right? I mean, that's a commitment. It's an incredible commitment. And if we're willing to commit to all these other things, why wouldn't we commit to someone like Jesus? You know, your piano is never going to die for you. Watching this, I just finished end of last week, watching this Billy Joel documentary biography. And I mean, the piano was everything. And there's actually like a line near the very end, like the piano, like that's him. Like his entire life, there's always been this piano. And he's poured his entire life into the piano. And what has the piano done for him? Well, I mean, it made him famous and lots of money and everything. But as you watch this story, I mean, it's not enough. It's not giving him what he really needs, what he's really looking for. I mean, he's still a train wreck. He's got a messed up childhood, terrible relationship with his father, and then making all kinds of dumb decisions throughout his career, and yet making incredible music that actually captures the essence of life, the agony of life, the dissonance of life with some of the songs. He talked about how he wrote some of the music and the chords and everything. But your piano is not going to die for you. It's not going to forgive you. If you play it well, they will applaud. If you don't, they won't, right? If you play well on the soccer field, they will applaud you and cheer you and want you to be on the team. And then as soon as you screw up, you're coming out, right? And if you don't get it together, you stay out. Same thing with swimming. Same thing with anything else, your career, even the best relationships as far as marriages and parents and kids and parents, which is why he starts out with, you got to hate your wife and children and brothers and sisters and father and mother if you want to be my disciple. Even that, even family, right? Number one, family is not going to love you back the way, right? Even your own parents, your own children, there is a limit to what they will tolerate.
True.
I mean, most people generally stay within that, but there is a point of no return. But Jesus,
I like to skim the edges on that.
test the boundaries.
Yeah, test the boundaries.
So basically, you're still a toddler? Is that it?
A big toddler.
It's like
a potty trained toddler.
Oh, well, thank God. So what is that smell then in here? There's no smell in here. I'm just teasing. But like the kids, when it comes to chapel, like this morning, the little kids from our child care center with chapel, and or the bigger kids with our aftercare program, when we get them in for chapel, they love to just like test the boundaries. Nobody up on the platform here, the stage or the chancel, if you have a liturgical background. But it's mainly for safety, because once they get past that boundary, then all of a sudden they're just jumping up and then running all over the place and falling down. So we don't want them to fall down. Plus there's equipment up there and everything. And so we're like, okay, this is the boundary. And then they're doing this like, or they lay on it, or they, they do everything they can to test the edges, sort of like you. Oh, that maybe, you know what they did today for the very first time?
No. Oh, no.
I said, no, not you. You're too young and, you shouldn't know this yet. Please, God, no. Oh. But Jesus, he can demand as much or more than all these other things, because in a few chapters, he's going to give everything. He demands all of this, but he's like, I'm about to buy you back from death and the devil. right? Like your sin has evil, ding, 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 ding. You are so evil that it will take nothing less than everything I have. But here, it's yours. And so it is perfectly legitimate for him to say, this is what it costs to follow me. And by the way, I'm going to show you.
I find it interesting that he says that. Where is it? Sorry, dead air space there. I can't find it. Where he says somebody here. Where is the part about the mother? Hating your family.
Yeah, it's right before that, 25, 26.
Yeah. And then goes, whoever does not bear his own cross. I always find that, and there's another place, maybe it's in John or something, where he says, you have to pick up your cross and follow me. And I just thought those are always kind of odd references because
he hasn't gone to the cross.
He hasn't gone to the cross yet. So what are they looking at? Are they that's just because they know that what that means because it happens where they live kind of thing? It's something that happens at that time? Or is he like saying that and then later on they'll be going, oh, that's what he meant? Or I don't know, but anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't fully grasp what he meant.
It seems what do they call that in a movie? Anachronistic, right? It's something that's out of time. A thing that's being referenced that's out of time.
It is in the sense that he hasn't gone to the cross yet, but it's not in the sense that I think we're kind of probably seeing people carry their crosses, right? But
they're probably looking at him going, what do you mean? You're not. I mean, you're doing what you're doing, but, they certainly didn't think he was probably headed toward that end.
I mean, he said it.
Well, that's true. He probably has, but they never seem to get any of it, right? We get it. We're fortunate and unfortunate. I get whatever you want to look at it. We're kind of looking at it from hindsight, so we know what happens, so it makes sense. But
yeah. So, sometimes I'm thinking about this whole thing and the demands that God places on us, that Jesus calls us to, this giving of ourselves to him and then to others. And then, give praise to the Lord, sing praises to God. There's a sense that, I don't know if you've met people like this, but like narcissistic people. Oh, yes, praise me and tell me how great I am. And oh, yes, do. And, there are very dysfunctional people out there that will take advantage of kind of what Jesus is saying here. And you may get the impression like God is a narcissist or something. But again, what explodes that idea is that he comes himself in the flesh of Jesus and gives everything for us first, right? So it's one thing to give to somebody who's just asking for it or demanding it. It's another thing to give to someone who's asking for it after they've already given up everything for you. A narcissist will never do that. They will say they did. They will act like, oh, look at all I do for you,
Mm-hmm.
But they aren't actually doing for you. Jesus went through hell on our behalf. And then the whole thing about like praise and worship, sing praises to God and all that kind of thing. Like, we are meant for worship and praise, and it's actually good for us to praise the one that we were made to praise. It's like the whole idea of the space heater, right? The space heater was made to heat things up, but not steak. You don't cook steak on it. and you don't heat up your bath water. Why? Because, well, the steak will probably be pretty gross, and your bath water will kill you. But if you use it, like you put it up on this table or underneath this table or in the corner of the room, it'll warm up this space nicely. Well, we are made for worship. And you see this. I mean, people see a great movie. They just have to tell people about it.
Mhm.
They have to praise the movie. They have to praise the music. They have to praise a great speech or an impressive meal, right? I mean, food is a big deal down here, right? You go to a great restaurant, you have a great meal. Oh, my goodness, the food was so good. Or you go to somebody's house and they made a great shrimp boil or crawfish boil, and oh, that's the best I've ever had, or a shrimp po' boy or something. And man, that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
You got to tell people about it. Well, that's worship. That's praise. That's demonstrating the worth, the value of something. So if we aren't doing that about God, well, then we haven't spent a whole lot of time coming to grips with what he's actually done for us and how great he really is. And then as soon as we do, what is the response? The response should be what we do for everything else. We're like, oh my goodness, did you see that catch? Did you see that last game? Oh my goodness, they're in the playoffs. Oh my goodness, did you see the way they took down that quarterback? Like, that's what we do. So why aren't we doing that for the one who matters far more than anyone else? That's the
$64,000 question, though, right?
Well, sin, ding, 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 right? I mean, evil in us. So that's what it is. But that's why we have to be told to do this. We already do it. We just aren't directing it appropriately. We are already giving our life to something, to someone. We're giving our life to a person, a career, a business, an organization. I mean, even a church is not exactly the same thing as giving your life to Jesus like this, to surrendering your freedom, letting Jesus take the wheel, all of those ideas. It's not quite the same thing. I think if you give yourself fully to Jesus, like he's saying here, then it will ultimately manifest in some kind of interaction with a church. But it's not the church that is the one that, which I think is part of why people resist this, is they equate the two, and they've had bad experiences with churches, but this is Jesus. We're talking about Jesus. That's who he's saying you have to give yourself fully to him, right? That's who it is, not a pastor, not an organization, a 501c3, nonprofit organization. No, to Jesus. And Jesus will call you into those and use you in those areas, but he'll also use you outside of those areas. And, you kind of talked earlier about when you're talking about young people, like, oh, here's the path for Jesus, and like, here's the path. You can give yourself to this, sort of like this life or this world or whatever, and then you can give yourself to Jesus. And that's true, but I think sometimes we take that a little too far. We take it the route of the Middle Ages, right before the Reformation with Martin Luther. They got to this place where they were basically saying, like, yeah, you either follow Jesus and you do the right thing, and you are off in a monastery, or you're doing something for God wholly and completely and totally, or you're in the real world and you better hope that these people are praying for you. I don't think that's what he means. I think what he means is to transform our life in this world. So if we, and this is something Martin Luther really, like, if you're off here, you're not helping the people that actually need it the most. Like, you're not present in the real world to serve your neighbor and be the light, to be the salt, So it's in this world, but not of this world, to use a biblical phrase. What does that look like? I think we're all wrestling with that on a daily basis. Trying to be fruitful members of society, provide for families, the spouses and children that God blesses us with, or the parents, or the cousins, nieces, nephews, neighbors, whatever that we're doing. If you're in a workplace of some kind, any kind, there are people you're interacting with, and you are able to serve them. And you can serve them in a way that's very different from other people, and it can be noticeable. And I think that is partly what it means to give yourself fully to Jesus. Now, there may be things that you probably shouldn't do if you follow Jesus. Like, yeah, you can be really nice and look very Christian-y, but like you probably shouldn't be in that business at all.
Oh, right. Okay.
So there is that, but at the same time,
We can't be a drug dealer for Jesus.
probably
No.
not. I mean, there's pharmacists.
Yeah, you could be
That kind of a drug
right.
dealer.
No. Yeah, no.
But not the kind you've really met. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But yeah, that right to the worship thing. And I know, I know I'm guilty about that because, I mean, from here, right? So if you're from this area or live in this area, and if you've ever been to, well, maybe not recently because they're horrible, but if you've ever been to a full stadium sellout Saints game, or the stadium is full at Tiger Stadium, and you're watching them, and they're running back a handoff, and he breaks these tackles and makes these runs, and he scores a touchdown. It's a spirit that lifts you to your feet, and you're screaming, and everybody's doing it in unison. It's amazing. It's a really amazing. LSU, a long pass, catches it, touchdown, the pass, it's like, it's mind blowing. And then you think, wow, I had the thought one time I was at LSU, in fact, and I think it might have been at the beginning of the game, the band comes onto the field, and they do this thing every game at home, and they line up they come out on the field, and they line up, and the first line goes out like 5 yards, and then as they're continuing to march 5 yards, then the next line comes, and they're playing like the school fight song, right? And they play it over here, and then they point their instruments to here and to here, and it's this tune, and it's like, man, it just, I don't know, makes your blood just want to go like, oh yeah, wow, we're ready for fight, we're ready for battle. It's just, it makes the hair stand up on your arm. It's amazing. It's like, I sat down after that one time going, never feel like this in church. Never. Not, I mean, I'm not that I don't feel good, but I don't, and not that even, some sermon or song or something, some smart part of, a service at some point might have made me feel, oh, that was really good. Not that, but I mean, I can't say I've ever just wanted to jump up out of my seat, in unison with, I mean, not just me, but the whole, everybody just doesn't come up at the same time. It's like, we're really missing something when we don't.
Yeah.
We're really missing something.
And I don't know. I don't think we're unique necessarily. Mm-hmm. I also don't think that church is ultimately about feelings.
Right.
Feelings lie
all
the time. But yeah, why are we so we have given ourselves fully to this? I think there's a preparation and an anticipation also. And it's the group, together, we are social, remarkably social creatures, even though we want to be away from people as much as possible, right? Like we still need people.
Well, even
Like-
Jesus drew away to the
Yeah,
mountain top or whatever to get away from people after a while. But
to be with God, right? But what is it that you do before the game? I mean, there's like a whole process.
well, at LSU they do a lot of drinking, but
You hang out before.
food. There's food
There's
involved.
food. There's drinks.
There's communion. It's like a communion, right? Community.
There's a liturgy to football.
Yeah.
To college football. A liturgy to the NFL. It's a thing. But there's all this preparation. There's the listening to the radio and the sportscasters, broadcasting, whatever, their pregame, hey, who's going to do what, and here's what's happened, and there's like this huge buildup.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing that before worship on Sunday?
No, we
No.
come haphazardly in.
Yeah, we're like,
We stumble over to where our donut holes and coffee if you drink it.
we barely made it, usually, right? And that's fair because we have an enemy working against us to get here on Sunday. So if you don't,
All those guys that were driving too slow that made me catch every red light.
I hate this road, this street. Every gauze is just, you either get through a bunch of them or you hit every single one. And it's always on the wrong day that you hit every single one, right? But all of that to say, are we in our Bible every day? Are we praising God ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like every day? Like you can sing at home. You don't have to sing just here. You can hum. You can listen to, you don't maybe have to like break out into how great thou art and just start like going into this thing. You don't have to
Right.
do that, but there's stuff you can do, and it's like the preparation that you're doing before the big game. Right. And if nothing else, it's getting your mind ready for it, your heart ready for it. And then when the moment comes, like, yeah, there is that,
Mm-hmm.
but
But I feel like even if I did that, and that would be good for me, but it's like you've been talking about in some of the sermons lately, it's the unity thing, right? If everybody kind of did something like that and we all came together, whatever it is that means to them, their pregame ceremony, and then we all came in and we all were like in anticipation, and you know what I mean? Then it would work. But if it's just me per se, or somebody else comes walking in and had done all that, and then they're the only one that jumps up. If I was going to look at him, and go, they might be like, well, yeah, good, or
it's
whatever. Or am I going, what's wrong with him? Who put what they put in his coffee or whatever?
it's got to start somewhere.
Right.
It's got to start somewhere. But worship is a participatory sport. Like it's an active sport. It's not, and this is something that was big in the Reformation also, that they, you had the monastery idea, like separating from the world versus, hey, we should be in the world. But also when it came to worship, it was a spectator sport
Mm-hmm.
where the professionals did everything.
Mm-hmm.
The professionals sang, the professionals led the liturgy, right? And I don't even know how much participation was involved in that, like what the responsive type things were, if there was as much as there is now. But worship, if you really want to worship, like you got to sing. You got to make a joyful noise to the Lord when you come here on Sunday. And I've told our worship director, Robin, hey, it's okay if we do songs more than once because hopefully people will get to know the songs better.
Right.
If you're sick and tired of a song, start singing it. Because then we go, okay, they got it. Now we can loop it back in later, right? But that's it. You got to sing, and you got to sing like you would sing, like this. Trump has used this Lee Greenwood song, but even long before Trump was
Or
using
YMCA.
that, I'm not going there. But no, the Lee Greenwood song, like you talk about, like the goosebumps, the hair on your arm, kind of stuff, like that always did that for me, which is why Trump used it.
Right.
I mean, it was a manipulative type of persuasion type thing.
It brought unity.
And because it just feeling about America, right? Like I'm an American. Oh man, I'm proud to be an American, or at least I know I'm free. Don't forget, like we have to participate in this. We have to sing it at the top of our lungs, no matter how crappy we think we sing, because you're probably not as terrible as you think. And guess what? When we're all singing, you don't really hear who's out of tune. In fact, the variation makes it something that's much more powerful than it would have been whether you were perfect or not. Like, you could be perfectly pitched, but if you're by yourself, it's not the same thing as sitting in a room with 100 people who are all kind of like on some sort of range, but all singing it and getting this like, whoa, like everybody's participating in this. This is a massive amount of voices crying out to God, So that's a symbol, I think, ultimately of our hearts too. Ultimately our life needs to be indicative of this too. I think it flows out of worship, but you can be having a great, powerful, quote, worship and all kinds of emotions flying and completely miss the fact that, like you can still get mad at the Starbucks person who screwed up your order and not be, not be very Christian at all. Or somebody's dog tries to kill your dog and you can turn into a real nasty human being.
I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, Drew Brees always had this thing when he was still playing where he'd get, and this was just for the team, but they would, at some point, they got the camera down on him and he would do the same little cheer or whatever. And he'd get the players going before the game, to get ready to go. And he'd do like 1, 2, something, and then 3, 4 or something. It was just real kind of simple. I don't remember how it goes, but he would say it so fast. But man, then the players it wasn't even the whole team necessarily, but there would be a huddle of the players around him and they would be like repeating him. And it's like, man, it just pump you up,
Yeah.
Pump them up before the game. That's why he had them going, man. They used to be killer on their first drive. Almost score every time because he was, not just because of that. I'm sure that was just the sauce on the top of the meat, the players out there. But anyway.
So one last thing about this, counting the cost. As I mentioned in that quote from that guy, the Columbia professor, Mark Lilla, there is a loss of freedom in this. But freedom is not what we think freedom is today in 21st century America. So today in 21st century America, freedom means, when you use that word, it means there are no hindrances, there are no obstacles to me doing and saying and thinking and feeling and expressing myself in any way I want at any time. But that's not real freedom. Because you can't say, I want to go play at Carnegie Hall.
Right.
Right? So you get to play at Carnegie Hall because you restrict your freedom repeatedly over an extended period of time to practice. And you get good enough at the piano, the violin, whatever, that they invite you to exercise the freedom of now playing not just in your home or any other place that you've played. Now you have the freedom to play in, one of the premier venues on planet Earth. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with sports. Some of these players, right? I mean, they have restricted their freedom, all of them, to get to the NFL, to play at LSU, and then maybe go on to the NFL. They have restricted their freedom in such a way that they were able to earn the right to have the freedom to play on the field with some of the best players in the world. That's, freedom is not just like I can do whatever I want. And as much as I love ice cream, like if a doctor comes to me someday and says, you have to either stop eating ice cream or you will die, is that a restriction on my freedom? Yes, but it's also providing me with the freedom to live, right? More years than I would have otherwise. So freedom is not what we feel instinctively when we hear something like this, like, oh my goodness, but I won't be able to do what I want. You don't even know what you want, right? Because on the one hand, I want to eat ice cream, but on the other hand, I want to be alive. Oh no, I just did the 6, 7. 6, 7? Yeah, ice cream or death, like,
right.
or life or whatever, ice cream and death, or life and no ice cream. So there's, it's a lot more complicated. How do you navigate your competing desires?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what Jesus is. I think he's calling us to follow him, to renounce everything else, to follow him, because he will help us sort through those competing desires in a way that is optimal for us and the world. So yeah, there's a restriction on freedom, but we are restricted on freedom one way or the other, right? If we are free enough that we do stupid things enough and we end up in prison, well, so much for our freedom, right? Oh yeah, I did whatever I wanted and then I got myself arrested. Yeah, good for you. So much for freedom, right? So there are these, very, I don't know what the right phrase is, but these warm, fuzzy ways of thinking and speaking about freedom in our modern culture, and they're all baloney. They're not
It's very
a full understanding of.
Yeah, it's very short-sighted.
Yeah, and you are much better off giving up everything to follow the one who gave up everything for you than you are anyone else. Because again, they're not going to die for you. They're not going to come back for you. They're not going to tolerate anything and everything you do. Not that Jesus wants us to do anything and everything, but tolerate in the sense that if you come to him in repentance, he will forgive you. It's not like there's a forever sort of thing until, of course, the very end, which we've read plenty of parables about that already. So, but yeah, of course, you had a lot to say today, and we got to go.
Oops.
No, it was good.
I'm out of things to say.
It was good. It was good. I enjoyed it, and hopefully y'all enjoyed it out there in the ether of the internet, podcast, YouTube, Facebook universe. And we'll catch up with you next time. But for now, count the cost. And it is quite a price to follow Jesus. Jesus asks for everything, but you're already given everything to something. He's the only one worthy of stewarding everything you are and all that you have. So catch up with